Had an interesting question today with a linked article. Of course, I'm going to share the link and also I'm going to share the actual emergency plan that was revised back in 2010. So this has been around for a long time, guys. It's just been on a shelf to be implemented when we have this kind of national crisis. Okay. So this is not new. And if it's been revised, that means that it's been around longer than 2010. Now, I believe that every state is going to have, I know for a fact that most have an emergency plan very similar to the one that you're reading that's taking place in Alabama. Now, of course, the special needs, disability rights groups are naturally upset because of what's contained inside. And I don't think it's limited to special needs. I mean, I would have to say that anybody with any kind of pre-existing condition, AIDS, traumatic brain injury. I mean, this isn't just about special needs or disability. But the troubling aspect is that, I mean, guys, it's in black and white. But this is the negative and nasty side of what it is to live in a society. Okay. I mean, you got to understand what the word triage means. Triage is a French word meaning sort or tiered, to sort. Um, so that's what triage means. And so if you then understand what battlefield triage, for example, if you've seen the movie Pearl Harbor, the one with Ben Affleck, where he just keeps telling Danny to get him to a plane, and he'll save everybody. Okay, that one. If you remember the attack scene during Pearl Harbor when the doctor asks the nurse that she needs to go outside and make decisions on who can be saved and who can't. That is a triage situation where we're sorting and making split-second decisions on who we're going to save and who we're not going to save. Same thing. If you've seen Saving Private Ryan, the beginning battlefield scene on Omaha Beach, you'll see the part where the doctor is going down the line of the wounded, telling the medics, who gets priority and who's going to die and who they're going to let die. Because they've got to, in those situations, make split-second decisions based upon the available resources and what they can feasibly do. Now, is that horrible? Of course it's horrible. Is it wrong? It's reality is what it is. And 99% of the time, guys, we are never put in a situation in our lives, or we haven't been in this country for a very long time. A very long time we haven't had a huge national crisis on this level to where it reaches in and impacts all of us. Okay, 9/11 was tragic, but relegated mainly to New York and Washington as far as the direct impact. Of course, their family members and people ripple across, and it changed us as a nation, of course. And I think this is going to as well, because of what we're being asked to do. And the sacrifices potentially being asked are extreme. Now, does this impact me? Absolutely, it impacts me. I've got a beautiful 16-year-old daughter that would not meet their tier 1, their tier 2, or tier 3 criteria. If we ran out of ventilators and my daughter needed one, she would not be offered one, as it says so nicely. She wouldn't be offered one. That's why, regardless of my personal feelings about this crisis, it doesn't mean that, I'm not watching out for my family, and we're not also, I guess, self-isolating, whatever you want to call it. Okay. We've been in Colorado for going on 2 weeks and have no plans to leave until we know, what we need to do. Okay. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to question, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to research. It doesn't mean that I don't have strong opinions. I do. Anybody who follows me on my personal Facebook page should know that. I'm not an ideologue, guys. I am a free-thinking individual, and I will criticize anyone, everything, and especially power. Because most of us don't have power, and most of us in situations like this are going to be victims of power. But understand, there's something called medical ethics, bioethics, where these are determinations and things that are thought of constantly. That's why this plan has been around prior to 2010. Somebody dusted it off to where decisions, life and death decisions, have already been made and determined if we end up going into a triage situation. And there's some people that think that we might. And I think I saw somewhere that in Alabama there's 1,200 ventilators and currently 500 are being used, which leaves, maybe it was 1,400. Anyway, there was something like 500 and something ventilators left in the state. Or maybe it was 800. Guys, that's a lot. And I know that you sit there and you go, well, but Alabama's population is 8 million, but that doesn't take into account the number of people that aren't getting it in a serious capacity. I'm just saying that these numbers look small, but I pray to God we don't ever max out or eliminate, to where we're put in a situation to where we're having to sit there and make these triage decisions, these sorting decisions of who's valued, whose life is valued over another person's life. It's going to be interesting how this experience together changes our philosophy as a people. Because this is one of the realities. It's always been there. And yes, I echo the concerns of the disability community. I absolutely do. But these emergency protocols have been around for a long time. But we've never needed it. So, but these are the things that I always caution people, about this slippery slope. That this isn't the first time that humanity has cycled, through doing horrible, horrible things to each other. And we are not immune at all as a people from doing horrible, horrible things to we still do, but not on a level, not on a national level that we've seen in this past century for political reasons, religion, you name it. But do I think that we have the capability of sliding in that direction? Yes, of course. But that's also why I do what I do. I fight for those who have no voice. I fight for those that I considered powerless or I consider disenfranchised. I fight power. I don't care what the political party is, and I could care less what your ideological beliefs are, stance. Quite frankly, people have been abused by both ends of that spectrum. And I am not there on either side with any of you. I'll support what I think that sounds correct and reasoned, and I will absolutely fight against that I don't. As I would urge all of you to do. But we need to start valuing life and stop. And what's ended up happening is that we're creeping toward these ideas of quality of life. Trying to make a determination. For example, my very happy autistic 16-year-old daughter, who will always live with my wife and I. To sit there and have somebody in medical ethics or bioethics have discussions about my daughter's quality of life and determining her value over another person's, that's unacceptable to me. But that's unacceptable to me because I'm her parent. I'm her father. And the only way we safeguard our kids is by working together as a collective in garnering an appreciation for all life. That's why I am anti-war, guys. I haven't seen a war that's been justifiable in my lifetime. I know people said, "Oh, well, what about the war on terror?" You think for a second that was really about that? Come on, and all we did was chip away and destroy a little bit of ourselves in the process. I think sometimes war is absolutely unavoidable, absolutely. But how it's sold to us doesn't necessarily make it right. So we sit there and we make these judgment calls, and we have that one in front of us right now. What tier are we at in Alabama? We at tier 1, we at tier 2. But the one tier that I had read, if you go to the explanation of neurological under section E, you'll see how that's defined. So severe functional impairment, mental retardation is, that's a 2010 word. Psychosocial, cognitive. Now they don't sit there and name autism, but I'm no fool. I know what all of that stuff means. Functional assessment for persons with intellectual disability, complex neurological problems. I mean, come on, but then decisions should be guided by premorbid function and expected level of recovery rather than diagnosis. So what that means is that, before the injury, what is the expected ability of the person to regain those skills? Well, my daughter's always been autistic. So that just automatically throws her out because there was no premorbid marker of normalcy, however they define that, for her to be able to achieve. That's what that means. But it also says children with severe neurological problems may not be appropriate candidates in the pediatric age group. Because this is the nitty gritty. This is the hardcore. This is the things that you don't see. This is government. This is power. This is ethical decisions in an emergency of who lives and who dies. I wish all of you would sort of wake up and realize that government is not a monster that you want to play with. And those of you that want expanded government, that wants government to continue to expand and do more for you, you're barking up the wrong tree. Because I challenge government daily, guys. That's what I do. It doesn't play nice. It doesn't respond to me in a nice way. There's people within government that do. But on the whole, government is government. And you're seeing the unemotional, the naked power right here in front of you. That's what that is. Meshed with that necessity, guys. If somebody declares an emergency and they go into triage to where they're sorting value, then yes, those decisions have already been made for our kids. And they wouldn't get ventilators. And like I said, I would be impacted by that as well. Something we change. I don't think that we're going to reach that point in this crisis. I don't. But this was something that is now on our radar and something that you need to think about. And you need to talk to your representatives about. Now, what's the solution? That we have more ventilators. And that we alter, in some degree, this triage format of how they're sorting people and categorizing value. You notice that it didn't have anything to do with whether you had insurance, no insurance, poor, rich, legal, illegal. Had nothing to do with that. It is sheer numbers, guys. We have X number of resources and X number of people that need these resources. And then those decisions are going to be based upon these arbitrary factors. So the more people that we have that need the resources, then we're all treated equal at that point. And then it's all based upon these arbitrary factors of our functioning and how we take care of ourselves, or whether or not we didn't get cancer, as though we have a choice in that matter. So please take all that into consideration. All right, because I think some discussions need to be had moving into the next crisis, because there'll be pandemic due pandemic 2.0, however you want to say it, at some point. Okay, so it's better to know now, right?